It's a cold, wet, rainy, grey day here in the UK, much like most of the rest of the year will probably be. But anyway, I thought today, first video back for 26, let's do something administrative, but not boring. I'm going to build a project template file in Cubase 15, the latest version, tailored towards my style of music making, which is electronic, sample based mainly, but it would work for everyone. That's the other thing, the new startup window in Cubase 15 is actually pretty cool. You can preview songs and stuff. I'm not going to get into all that. Before we start, what we want to do here under this templates drop down is just make sure user templates. I'm not bothered about factory templates, so I'm just going to use my own. And all I'm going to do is projects, create empty. I'm actually going to start by adding just some audio tracks. I'm going to hit T on the keyboard. Quick way to add audio channels. Right. So we're going to go drums. Let's go 3. Odd numbers are better. Purple's fine. Keep dialogue open. Yes, please. Right, so that's our first 3. Then I'm going to add a group channel, and I'm going to call it drum group. And I'm just going to make sure these are all being sent to that group by holding down Shift and Option. That should do all 3 of them. There we go. Right, so they're all linked to that group. Fine. Let's also make the group purple though. Or at least within the same sort of color. The thing is, sometimes when you're working on drums or breaks, sometimes you'll do like kick 1, 2. You might have 2 kicks, 3 kicks, whatever, and like 2 or 3 snares, and then you want to group the snares for cohesion. So the question is whether or not you set that now in a template, because you might not do that every time. So I probably wouldn't. That's probably a step too far in case I'm not going to work like that. But you could have a subgroup here, say these were 2 kicks, and then that subgroup would go to this overall drum group. So I like to have a couple of groups. So I have the primary drum group here, which I will just use for a bit of compression, for example. And then I will send that group track to another one. And this is usually, I will call it drum bus, and I consider that my final output of drums. Let's just keep it in the same color. And so what I do here is this drum group, it's already routed to drum bus, as you can see. And then in my mixer, if you press zones in the bottom left, let's close this, get this out of the way. If you press zones, you can actually start splitting the mixer up, which is cool. So my final drum buses are going to sit here on the right, all the way over there. And then what I'm going to do with my groups is just pin them to the left. Stereo in will pin to the left. You can see my mic here. And then we're going to do a similar thing again, but this time let's do some more audio channels. And let's say keys. It's kind of like keys, synths, samples, you know, like any kind of musical element I would put in this. And I would probably do 3 again. Let's just stick with 3 actually. Make it nice and simple. Keep dialogue open. And then we're going to just do a group again. Let's call this keys group. Yep. And we're just going to send all these 3 to the keys group. And then we've got our group. And like we did before, we're going to create a keys bus, which is our final kind of bus. We're going to make sure that one is getting routed there. Just going to again pin that to the right. I'm going to pin my group to the left. And you can start to see we're getting a nice little workflow going. And these 2 kind of don't need to be worked on in this project view. So we'll keep these tiny and we'll keep them at the bottom of our kind of timeline, if you like. I'm going to add a instrument track and I'm going to just drop in the sampler, because I do like to sample a lot. So we're going to have the sample and we're going to output that to the keys group. So we've got Serato, an instance of Serato sample ready. We're going to stick that here. Yeah, that's routing to our keys group. All good. Stuff you always use pretty much in every track, which I know I do. I might as well load. I'll also probably add my mini log. XD, which you can't see, it's just the module one. Bit of hardware is there, and we will call that the mini log XD. We're going to route that to the keys group as well. Let's just mute this one off because it's got audio coming through. So far so good, I would say. Some people like to work with folders. I mean, it does keep projects neat, so we could create a drum folder literally going to call it drum folder as well. And what that does, I mean, it's just organisational. We can highlight all these four and just pin them like that, and then we can just hide them. I mean, it's not something I always do, but let's do it for the argument, for the sake of the template. Let's do it. Orange. Let's push that to the top, and then we're going to highlight all these. No, not the bus. Not the bus. I'm going to nip them in there. Nice and tidy project. Right, next up, audio again. We're going to do bass. It's going to be a mix of potentially audio and synthesis. So let's just do two. Let's do them in blue. Yep. All good. And then let's just do a bass group. And then we want to do, I mean, you could do the final bus here, so we could just do bass bus here. And then so we've got our four. Let's ping them outside of that. Let's just hide those. Why have they gone orange? Because I added them within this, which is annoying. No problem. Blue. Bass bus, yes. We want the group to be going to the bass bus, and the two basses, of course, go to the bass group. The thing is, sometimes you don't want your rack to have like your final processing. Like your bass group might just be a little bit of saturation or comp or whatever, and then the final rack version might have like some multi-band compression, some final EQ or whatever it might be. Right, so bass bus can hide, and then you've got a bass group. Let us drop in a bass synth I use a lot at the moment. Is Current, so it makes sense, and we're going to just route that to the bass group, and we'll call it Current. Very good plugin if you haven't used it. All right, here we go. So that's a little bass unit. Slightly wrong blue, which I've got to be honest, will bug me. So that's routed to the bass group. Yeah, all good. There we go. And then, can we do it from here? Oh, we can. We can add a folder. So we're going to call bass folder. Let's pin that up there, and then we are going to highlight those, drag those in, and there we go. And then we're just going to make sure we've got the bass bus all the way to the right, bass group to the left. And then when we're mixing, we do start to get a kind of, let's leave zones open actually. Just our workflow becomes a bit easier to kind of see what's going on at any one point. Right, so you can see we've already got quite a good little project layout going already. I'm now going to add some effect tracks, and in this instance I'm going to do a Valhalla reverb. So I'm going to use this just for the drums, so I can send any drum channel to this same reverb, or let's just start with a little bit of low cut. We'll start somewhere like a default start, and then I'll edit it as depending on the track. So if I start like drum verb like that, start with a level down, and then we've got a nice little start-in reverb. Probably mute that off to start with, but having it as a send like this means rather than sending the whole group, you could send individual hits to it, and you're using the same reverb, save a bit of processing power, and also get the same sounding reverb, so we're not crashing all over the place. Some other stuff to look at. My control room here, there's a little inserts tab. Often what you'll notice people doing is they will run some inserts on the stereo out that probably should be on the control room. For example, in this instance, I've got Sonarworks on the control room, because you could run it on the stereo out, of course, but you'd have to disable it every time you export your tune and whatnot. But putting it on the control room effectively sits outside of the door, and so it's the last thing I hear before the speakers. So only I, even if I do a live stream, for example, only I am going to hear the corrective EQ, and everyone else is going to hear the normal output because it's on my control room output, not my stereo out. So it's a smart way to run plugins that you only want to affect the speaker with, if that makes sense. I'm also running analysis here, supervision. This one doesn't really matter because it's not affecting the audio, but when you run it, this is the other thing, when you run it in the control room, it stays there regardless of what project is open. The control room sits independently to project. So if I close this project, this here will stay exactly the same. So you never have to load it ever again. Super useful little bit of flow. So that is set up. Lovely. And there's a couple of other little bits I like to do as well. I like to have a marker track above. I don't actually use it for the markers, funny enough. I use it for the key. Let's do yellow. Doesn't actually matter. What I like to do, right, is I like to pop it up there, and then I will put a marker, I'll draw a marker in, and then I write the key in the description. So it might be like, whatever, F sharp, minor, or whatever, right? And then that's always there. I always know what key the song is. So I like to leave that just to remind me as soon as I load the project. So we can just put that as key and leave that alone. Then on the final buses, I have a rack that I tend to use on my drums. So I'm going to load that. Everyone's rack is going to be slightly different. I wouldn't say use mine. Mine is built for tone and sound, because the way I like my drums to sound on mainly drum and bass is what I make. I'm just going to load that up, but what I'm going to do is disable all the plugins and then bring them back one by one. You're welcome to have a little look here. You can see Magneto, a little bit of saturation. I've got Soothe there to remove any digital harshness. I've got a little Focusrite console for a bit of noise EQ, Clipper, Silver Bullet again, saturation, bad boy plugin, and then a little final Pro EQ there just to roll off any nonsense. I've also got one for bass, but it does change quite a bit, so I'd be hesitant to run it. But for the example of this template, why else doing it? So I've got a bit of distortion, multi-band compression, again a little bit of EQ. We'll leave those off though. And then I haven't got one for keys, because it could be anything. One day that could be some guitar in there, some keyboards, piano, it could be samples. Oh, I've totally forgot an entire chain. I've totally forgot. I'm glad I just saw that. Tracks for vocals, recording. So let us add a couple. Let's just do 2. I can see why I've forgotten, because I don't always use vocals. But let's do vocals in a nice yellow, and we're going to do just 2. Thanks for not colouring them in. It's because of where I've started those channels. Let's do yellow. And then we're going to just add group to track to selected tracks, which is the same thing as the pop-up, just without it. Right, yellow. Yes, please. We've got a vocal group there, and then, keep the theme. We're going to do a vocal bus, which is our final bus. Let's colour that in yellow. And then it wouldn't be the same if we didn't also add a folder. We can't be unfair to the vocal one. Vocal folder. And then let's just sit all of this inside that folder. And then not forgetting, again, vocal bus on the right, vocal group. Oh no, vocal group on the left. I tend to do parallel compression on drums, so I probably would also have a parallel, but I'd probably do that after the bus. I'd probably send the bus to another group. Again, for the sake of this tutorial, let's do that, and let's call it drum parallel comp. So if I want to do a bit of parallel compression or distortion, whatever, we're going to do that, and I'm just going to send the final bus to it, not the group, because otherwise we'll start to get latency depending on what plugins we're using. So we're going to do drum parallel comp, yeah, and we're just going to start that down, and I tend to use Decapitator, trying to remember, but we're going to start with it off. We don't want any signals happening until we're ready, so we'll leave that there, and then we're actually going to ping that one to the left. We can rearrange here, yeah. So we're going to put it next to the drum group. No, you know what? Actually, no. I'm going to put it by the drum bus, because the bus is feeding into it. I'm going to put it on the right there. Right, so yeah, so when you're mixing, you've got your kind of individual channels here. Then you've got your groups for a little bit of touch-up. And then you get your final buses for final mixing. I mean, this is if you like to mix in the same project as you write in. Some people don't, But again, you could bounce your stuff and import it to this. What's the difference? But if you prefer working in audio and bouncing your track first, you could do the same principle applies. You could just make a mix template, and that's it for now. I'm not gonna go further than this. You could, but it depends. I write varying types of music, and so I don't want to limit myself and have to undo lots of this. I like to keep this kind of at a start point, which is what this is now. And then, you know, this is a good place to start a sketch from. But it helps keep you in the, you know, the main thing is it helps keep you in the flow state. You don't want to be like held up by technical wiring or plugins or racks. You kind of just want to be going. And when you're in that flow state, you know what it's like. You're writing, like you don't want to be slowed down by a fucking door. So get in and get going, and you've got all this ready. You can adjust it as you go. Right, so then final move, file, save as template. Literally, I'm going to call this Mitekiss master template, because this is going to be my new template that I'm going to use for everything. Then we say okay, and then that's it. Don't save. That's scary. Right, and then you can see here, for some reason though, it's showing duplicates of some. That's weird. Is that a bug? Wouldn't surprise me. But there it is, Mitekiss master template. And if you right click it actually and show in Finder, you can see exactly where they are saved. Look at that, 12, 13, 14, 15. I should probably uninstall some of the old ones now, shouldn't I? It's been a while. There we go. When it comes to starting a new project and you load up this home screen, you go, you know what? Double click. You go to your normal sketch folder or whatever you use to write songs in, and you press open, and everything is gonna load, and we are ready to go. And that loaded fast, as you could see. Ready to go, man. Right, until the next one. Peace.